Hey guys, we are live again here on a Sunday afternoon. We're taking a look at the Northwind Traders database, access database, and this is the fifth in a series of videos. And I've got my browser up here, just making sure this is all working. Very good. And I'm going to show you guys a playlist. If you go to my channel here and you click on my channel, and you go over to the playlist tabs, you'll find a playlist called Northwind Traders Database and Power Apps. So we've had 2 sessions where we're building the app, and then we have 2 sessions in between where we are actually doing some DBA work with SharePoint. We're dealing with Access, we're dealing with Excel, we're getting that data imported into SharePoint so we can use it within Power Apps. So this is the 5th in this series. So this video will be added so you can go back and watch this later if you're not watching live. And I'm going to bring up the project that we have here. I'll click on home and show you what we have. We have, of course, this home screen is just a splash screen with the image, letting people know, letting the users know they're in the right spot. You've got employees, brings up employee data. We have a customers table that we bring in on this screen. We have order listings. So some of these screens have a gallery on one side and the detail to be edited on the right side. And then some of them, like the order listing and the products listing, is just a listing. And then you click on an individual row to go into a full screen type of scenario where you can edit that one record, have more space for that. So I do have Kurt on the line here. Kurt, are you there? Can you say hi?
Yeah, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. So if you guys are here live with us, if you don't mind just saying hi in the chat, just so we know that you're there, and feel free to be a part of this process as we're building out this application. Excuse me. And so I feel like there is, I don't do a lot of analysis and design in between these videos because I sort of want to do all the design process and the thought process with you guys here on the live stream. Okay. So, something I was thinking about this morning coming in is that we haven't done a lot of thinking from the standpoint of, we don't have any requirements documentation. We just have an old access database, the Northwind Traders database. We brought it into SharePoint, and we're just building a bunch of screens that allow us to add, edit, delete data, to read the data. And you know what I was thinking, Kurt? This is almost like an online this might be like a back office application for like an online shopping cart application. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
I think so.
Yeah. So what I would imagine is, let's say Northwind is an online store, and they could go to the website and place an order for, well, let's look at here. We got a products listing. They could go in here and order any one of these items. Now, we don't have a lot of products right now, but it just looks like some food items. Now, Power Apps really can't be used to create a public-facing website that is like an e-commerce website. Now, we do have Power Apps portals, and Microsoft has released a new product called Power Pages, which is exciting. It's sort of rebranding the Power Apps portals where you can create public-facing websites. But I don't see or hear of people building a full e-commerce website with that. Now, something I can imagine is if we had a brick and mortar store and somebody comes into the store, and let's just call it, the store is called Northwind Traders. And you come in and you can order any of our products here, or just pick up any of these products. Perhaps we could have a kiosk system in the middle of the store, or a few of them. And, you don't have to go up to the cash register. You just go up to one of these kiosk machines and put in your order and hit the button. So we could actually build that, something like that in Power Apps, So, and that would be a separate application than this. I was just thinking of how are users going to use these screens? And Kurt, something you brought up, I think the last time, it wasn't last week. I think we had last weekend off because it was a holiday weekend, but you mentioned like we almost need images for these products. So that's something we could do today. So I'm looking here. Okay, Victor's here. Hello there, Power Appers. Hello, Victor. Thanks for joining us. So the big question of the today is, what are we going to do? Um, what new screens are we going to develop? One idea is to actually create some images for these different products, and images can sort of bring this application UI to life in a way. I'm going to get out of run mode, go into design mode. I'm going to scroll down. There is the screen one where I've got a little screenshot of an application that looks like it was almost built with .NET, perhaps in the early 2000s. 'Cause it looks like a Windows app, and I see a little, almost like a .NET icon, a default .NET icon for Windows development. So they've got all these different things here. I'd almost like to see some sample applications that have been written out there with Northwind. Um, of course, we do have our Access database here. Okay, so just to show you what Access gives us by default. So if you have Access installed on your computer, you can bring up Access, and let me show you what you can see here. So I have Northwind here. If you click on More Templates, you can go in here and type in Northwind, and I'm gonna hit Enter. Double click. Okay. And it looks like it's going to download the fresh new copy of that application. Of course, I need to click on Enable Content. And the first thing that you're given is a login. Okay, so employees can log in here. Now I can't really get out of this screen here because it's a modal screen. I'm going to click on Design View so I can get out of that. Now, if we look at our application here within Power Apps, we're already logged into this computer. We're already logged into our Office 365 environment. In fact, we're showing here. Let me turn that down. We could be displaying the user's name and email address. Kurt, you okay there? Getting a lot of feedback. Okay. So I imagine like having a login for the users in the office to be a little redundant because they could just log into Office separately and get in that way. Okay, let me open this up here and show what we can see here. We've got tables and related views. Object type. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so we've got all of our tables here. Just check on Kurt here. Kurt, can you hear me? Kurt, can you hear me? Okay. I think I might need to let that phone call go. I don't think he can hear me. So so Kurt, if you see me on the live cast and I was getting some type of feedback from your end, a lot of noise, and I don't think maybe we got disconnected. So if you want to just call me back and I'll bring you back. All right. So so the question is, where are we going to go from here? So for product listing, what we could do is we could add images in here. We could just add some more screens. And let me pull over the ERD diagram here. One direction that we could go is that we could pull in each of these entities that we don't currently have. That might be a good direction to go before we get too lost in the weeds on any particular screen. Okay, so I'm going to move this up here to my other screen. And just to let you know, if you guys are following along and you have access and you just brought up access like I did here on this screen, let me show you if you're not familiar with access. So let me close down this login and you can bring up the relationships here. Now I've sort of moved things around so you can get at all these tables, this ERD diagram. You can move things around and and you can sort of get to where I'm at here. So I sort of spaced everything out a little bit. I like to have the one relationship on a one and many relationship, the one on the left side, the many on the right side. Okay, so that's sort of what I've done there. And so what I was going for while I brought up access, I wanted to see the interface as they have it currently built. Okay, so I'm going to close this. Yes, I'm going to save those changes. And this has been saved as database 20. Now I'm trying to get that that switchboard to come back up, or that first screen to come back up. Um, and my familiarity with access is a little lacking. Perhaps I could just maybe look for a login screen. Maybe it's home. Maybe if I double click on a home, it will bring that up. No. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that down. If any of you who are familiar with access, if you're in the chat, let me know if well, I can just go in here and double click on, but it would have been nice to know how to bring this back up. All right. So I'm going to log on as a user. I'm going to log on as Laura. I'm going to click login. And I guess this is like the home screen to the application. Okay, so what we have here, we have inventory to reorder. So this is sort of like a dashboard. Okay, so eventually I want to be able to recreate some dashboard screens because we don't have user stories. When you create requirements for an application, before you actually start, before you open up Power Apps and start, creating screens, what would be helpful is if you had requirements that specified exactly what the application needs to do, and they would also include some user stories. So an example of a user story might be, as an application administrator, I need to be able to go in and add, edit, and remove products. Okay, that would be one user story. So all the requirements you might have, 50, 100 pages of those type of user stories. If we had a user story for this screen as an application administrator, so this isn't a screen for a customer to come in and start ordering some products. Okay, so this is for the office personnel that works for this company called Northwind. They could go in here and say, "Oh, I need to order 25 more of this boysenberry seeds." Okay. And I almost wish I could move this down to see more. This is sort of like some wasted space. Here's active orders. So we don't have any active orders. That's sort of a downer, huh? As a business, if you don't have any orders. Okay. So you can see the quantity available. Okay. Perhaps this might be a dashboard that we create. Okay. And we have quick links off there to the right. Okay, so view inventory. So let's click on inventory and see what comes up here. Okay, so this looks like a repeating type of thing, a grid showing all the inventory. So this is a screen that we could build. Okay, and this looks like, yeah, this is inventory list. So this is the home screen. This is the inventory list. Okay, so let's go through some of these screens here. View orders. Okay, now this is just almost looks like a data dump. And why I say that is not really providing, I mean, it provides a way of editing, deleting rows of data that connects to this order list. But this inventory list seems like there's more features in here. Like I could click on a purchase and that would have code behind it that would do something. So there's the order list. So let's see how all these different screens differ. So I'm gonna click on view customers. Okay, very good. So we already have that screen. Here's an order list. Well, do we have an order list here? We do have this. So how does this? Yeah. So they're showing a few more things here. So this is interesting how they sort of name this instead of, I mean, this is actually referring to an employee, but realistically, what this is actually is a salesperson. Okay, salesperson there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to see. Okay. Kurt did text me. I'm going to ask him to call me here. And so we'll get Kurt back on here. All right. So let's bring up the, so we got customer list over here. purchased orders. Okay, we have suppliers. Okay. View employees. Okay. View shippers. And sales report. All right, so here we go. Hey, Kurt, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, very good. Glad to have you back. So were you able to follow along in the live cast? Okay.
I've been having some technical.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So so what I've been talking about here in the live cast is, I want to get an idea for how, like, what other screens that we should create, and pretty much because we don't have any requirements that we're going after. We're not following any type of requirements. We just have this database, and we brought it in, and we just started creating some CRUD screens. If you guys have never heard of the acronym CRUD, CRUD, so it's an acronym for C is create, R is read, U is update, and D is delete. So add, edit, delete, view, records. Okay. But an application is made up of more. You can start off with that, but you actually want to create some good business logic in an application. And I wanted to get at a lot of this type of things that's just not your typical CRUD screen. So here, the last screen they have is sales report. So I'm going to hit design view on that. So bring that up as a tab there. That's good. Okay, so I'm sort of, Kurt, I'm sort of identifying some screens perhaps that we don't have in our app that is in the default Northwind database. Okay, so we do have an inventory list. We have an orders. Yeah, we have orders. We have a customer. We have a purchase. We do not have a purchase order list, right? Yeah, no purchase order. Okay, so we could do that next. Purchase order. We have suppliers. I don't have suppliers here. Okay, so we can just start creating those. What do you think of that, Kurt? Do you think we just start just creating the other screens that we don't currently have, or did you have something specific that you'd sort of like to see me do here?
As far as seeing what you're doing here, I've got a terrible echo going on.
Uh-huh.
Can't really understand what I'm saying when I talk.
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
So I guess I was talking to you before. I would like to see how we could hookups and find records and be on specific places that could be add and edit, delete within a list.
You wanted to, okay, for a given list, you want to be able to add and edit what?
Okay, so if I've got a list of, I cannot talk with this echo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want to, take care of that technical difficulty and give me a call back when you get it resolved, that's perfectly fine. Did you want to do that, or?
Well, I'll just stay online and listen.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay, sure. Yeah, no problem. All right. So, we have okay, customers, orders, purchase orders. All right, so let's look at purchase orders. So here I've gone over to SharePoint. I'm going to look at purchase orders. Here we go. All right, so that might be a good candidate for a listing screen. Now we have a listing screen here with the orders listing. So let's make a duplication of that screen. All right, we'll go over here and we'll say this order screen. Very good. So we have that. So on this gallery, what we need to do is we need to take a look at this here. So we're going to filter. Okay, so that's going to be this order purchase orders. Copy that. There as well. Very good. And I think right now, I don't want to mess with trying to filter it. So I'm just going to comment this out for now. Okay. So here we go. We have, so for purchase orders, I'm going to bring down the access database. So we have, so there's an ID, there's a status and a supplier. So let's put in here status. Okay, let's see what we have for status. Status ID. Okay. Yeah, we have status ID. So that brought in the approved. What are all the values here? Approved and submitted. Those are the two values. Now we do have a reference. So this is actually a foreign key to another table here. So let's go find our purchase orders. So our purchase orders have purchase order status. Okay. So let's look at that. Purchase order status reference. Okay, so we'll bring that in. Use the value. There we go. Okay. So what's nice about tying into that other database table and not relying on a static field there is over in that other table, if we go find that, I'm going to open up all the site contents here. So we have purchase order status. Yeah. So we have new, submitted, approved, and closed. So those are the different values, or these are the values right here, status. So let's say if we updated this text to be something completely different, it would actually pull that in dynamically. So that's what's nice about having a completely different table. You could update a value like that, a text value, in this database table, and it would be updated in other places throughout the whole application. Okay. So that's what I'm going to tie into there. Of course, I accidentally hit a plus sign there, which I didn't want to do. All right, so now let's go in here. So we've got pull in this other access database here. All right, so we got status, we got supplier, and we have a similar situation where we'll pull in the other table information. Okay, so we'll say supplier, this text box, or this label here. We'll say this item dot supplier reference value. And that should pull that in. And we probably want a little more space here, so I'll make that a little bigger. And I want all this stuff to be dynamic though. So order heading 10. Okay, that's there. Okay, we'll grab this. 11. And the width. So for this X, for this label here, we'll reference the previous label. That one dot X, capital X, plus its width. And then I will do the same thing here. This label. We're here for X, make sure that's set up. It looks like it is. Okay, very good. So now if I were to go in here and move this around, it should resize the other substance. So we can make this one a little more narrow. Okay, there we go. Maybe even the salesperson, make them a little more narrow there. Okay. So the supplier. The next field they have here is total. Okay, without the slash. Okay, this item total. I'm not getting a total amount there. Let's go look in here and let's see what it is called. I'll go in the list settings for this table here, and I don't see any total. Okay, so there is a possibility. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. So we got the status supplier total. Um, there's a chance this might be some type of an aggregation of all the child records. So that's a possibility. Um, so we might want to hold off on that for now until I can verify that. We can find, okay, so who submitted it? Okay, so let's go and do that. Let's look at, okay, that's a salesperson. Who submitted it? Well, if you look here, there is no employee. I think the submitted by would be that person. So instead of salesperson, that would be submitted by. Very good. Okay. Okay, what about a date when it was submitted? Okay. There's submitted date. Okay, so we can make this a little less wide. All right, so the last one, we have an approval date. And okay, so some of these haven't been approved yet. All right, so we're almost run out of space. That's probably good. Now, in some of the cases, when I'm building a listing screen like this, whenever I'm running out of space for the heading, let's say the like these dates, like I really don't care about the times. So perhaps we could go in here and just say date value. I print this. There we go. I do the same thing here. So if we want to just sort of truncate the time off there, say date value. Very good. And perhaps we don't want the heading to be so big. So something I notice here, if you zoom in here, it's sort of going off of the mark here. The mark being this rectangle in the back. So let's reference all this for all these little headings here. Let's make sure those are all lined up right. X is going to be different for each of them, but the Y should be the same. Should be lined up there. And for the height, it should be the exact same height as Very good. Okay, all right. So, yeah, so in the case of some of these, like submitted by, let's say I move this in here a little bit. I made that. If I wanted to force it, the carriage return in the heading, what I could do is say submitted and here in the middle, I'd say char 13, which is the ASCII character code for a carriage return. Okay. So we have submitted by. Now I can tell the left has got a little more padding in there. And perhaps we don't need our headings to be so big as well. So we might be able to put that down to maybe 12 or 13. Okay. Okay. Then for the submitted and this other date here, let's take heading out of there. Make it a little more narrow. Okay, so for when approved, I'm going to go in here and do the same char 13. And we'll center align that. All right, very good. Okay, so in order for this screen to show up on the menu, we need to go add it within our app on start. So here on this screen, I'm going to go up here to the screen name. I'm going to copy that. And this is the purchase order listing screen. So let's go find that in the screen on start. Okay. Good, we'll put a 7 there. Paste there. And I'm going to, whenever you add something app on start, you need to go in here and say run on start. Okay. Okay. Now that screen name is almost too big for this button, but it sort of barely fits in there, which is all right. What we could do for the menu, if we go over to components, and we can sort of make that a little smaller if we want. Let's go find the button. There we go. There's the font size for the button. Let's change it to 13. There we go. Make it look a little better. Okay. All right. So we have this now. We need a purchase order record edit screen. Okay. So let's go find, this was previously for, I think for the order listing. So let's go find the order edit screen here, and we will make a copy of it. And I like to keep all my related screens together. So even though it's probably going to create it right below the order edit screen, I'm going to move it down with the purchase order, the other purchase order screen that we're just working with. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move that guy down. Now you're going to see an error on the screen because it's looking for a record that hasn't been passed into it. So just FYI on that. Okay, so this one's going to be purchase order edit screen. Okay, so here we go. I'll zoom out a little bit, and we need to give it the new updated data source. Purchase order. Replace my data cards. All right, so let's look at the error that we do have left over here. This loc record. So if we go back over, so there is this little button here that we actually pass this loc record. So let's pick a record that maybe one of these that has the approval. So I'm going to click on this little button here. Okay. Now for some reason it's not pulling up the data. And let's see what it says here. Okay. Okay. So we're actually going to the wrong screen. So we need to make sure here for this edit screen, we need to grab that. For the listing screen, we need to change the navigate. So I'm going to click on the first record because when you're working with a gallery, you can only edit things within the first row. Okay, so we need to go to this new updated screen. All right, there we go. Very good. So this is pulling up a purchase order. So we need to change some monikers here on the screen. So instead of order record, this is the purchase order record. Okay, and we'll make this a little longer there. Okay. And then over here on this gallery, what this needs to be something completely different. Purchase order details. Okay. And then we're going to reference purchase order reference dot ID. Okay, so that will sort of match those two up. All right. So let's go look at the details for purchase orders. So there's our purchase orders, and then we have our details. Let's click on that. All right, so this is the type of data that we have here. So you have a reference to a product, inventory, quantity, that type of stuff. Okay. And I'm going to move this up to my other screen so I can see it while I'm working over here. Okay, purchase order details. That wider. I'll make this bigger over here. I might give this a dark gray, and then change the font text to be a white, and I might center that so they can sort of see that on the left side, this is the purchase order. It's like header information, and then over here we have all the details. Okay. So we have, okay, that's just an ID. I don't know that we need to see an ID there. I do want to see the product. Okay. So here I'm going to say this item dot product value. All right. Honey mix. And the height, I want this to be dynamic, to be parent template height. Okay, we've got this guy over here. What is this? We might want to have a quantity. Okay. And let's add over some good headings. I don't want it in there. I want it out here. Okay. like everything to line up. Let's see if we can line this up to the top of the gallery. All right, very good, very good. Let's insert some labels here. Make this white. Okay. Product. And I think I might shorten quantity. This quantity usually abbreviated to QTY, perhaps. All right, we'll do that. Quantity. Okay, height. Very good. Unit cost. Did you ever get your echoing figured out? No.
It's definitely on your side.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll get figured out for next time. All right. So for unit cost, what we do need to do for unit cost is we need to format this as currency. All right. So we'll do a text. The dollar sign. Okay, so that one's $9. And for numbers, typically you want that to be aligned right because you want all your decimal places to line up. So I'll do the same thing for quantity here. Okay. There's something over here giving me an error. I'm just going to delete that. Okay. Now we don't have this all dynamically sized like we did in the previous screen. So we can sort of see if we like putting all the effort into that or if, if we don't based on the results that we're getting here. So this quantity, this should be unit cost. Well, unit cost. And yeah, I want it to be broken up there a little bit. Okay, I like that. Now it has a space in there. Char 13. Let's do that instead. Make that center aligned. Okay. 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 So there's also an item called posted inventory. So this should be interesting here. So posted inventory. So I'm going to copy and paste one of these labels here. Posted inventory. So it's a true or false type of a deal. Okay, that's good. So my idea wasn't to display that value with a label. It was to have some type of checkbox there or something. So let's see what that looks like if we were just to bring over an icon here. Yeah, let's just bring that over. Okay, so we'll say parent dot template height. And we'll make the width be the same thing as the height, because an icon is a square. Right? It's the dimensions that comes in. So say self dot. Okay. And we might want that to be green. So if it's been posted, like trying to say, hey, it's done. Okay. Now I might want to give it some good padding in here. Otherwise, it just sort of looks weird. Okay. Um, so put that up there. Posted. Okay. Very good. We have that posted. And then we want to change this icon to be visible or not based on the value. So this item dot posted inventory equals, I think what we're dealing with is a string. Well, let's verify that. Let's go in here and actually look at the type by going to list settings. Posted in inventory. That's a yes, no. Okay. So we should just be able to say posted inventory, because that should give us a true or false value. And it is a false value, so it shouldn't be showing up. Okay. All right. Okay. Very good. So looking at the data here again for the order details, just looking for data that we'd want to see on that. So okay, product reference, we have that. Okay. What about date received? We don't have date received, so that'd probably be the one last piece of information I might want to see there. Okay. All right. So put in a date here. And not all of them have been received. So maybe it's been ordered, hasn't been received yet. And so we want a date to be displayed there. And we're probably only interested in the date value. We got a new comment. Wizard 5K. Thanks for stopping by, Wizard K or Wizard 5K. Um, you guys have been really quiet today. So far I got Kurt on the line, I got Victor, and I got Wizard 5K. Not a lot of traffic in the chat today, as opposed to the others. So let me know what you guys think of this of this app as I'm building it here. I sort of wanted to build it with you guys input, so this be a group effort. But thanks for stopping by, and we'll just keep trucking here, and eventually after so many of these sessions we'll have a completed Northwind Traders app. All right, so we got this. Let's go back. So this was which one are we looking at here? No, I don't want to do a new. I wanted to go back. There we go. All right, so we looked at that one. Let's go to this one. Let's see if we can see some different data here. Okay, so I can tell that we need to make this a little bigger. Okay, maybe move that over. Yeah, just watching and learning. Very cool. All right. Have another hello. So I'm gonna Hu Sei Yen. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I probably did not pronounce that right, but I definitely appreciate you coming by and saying hi. Yeah, very cool. All right. So because this thing is invisible, that little check mark, that little icon here, there you go. You got to go find it in the tree view because it's invisible. So we'll move that over there a little bit. All right. So we have that all working right. Make this a little bigger so we know the right side is the purchase order details. All right. So now go back. All right. So we have now I wonder if I could pull in. Let's see how many records we have here for purchase orders. So if you want to display something on the screen and you want to know how many records are being displayed in the gallery, um, what you can we'll do it two ways. Of course, the second way will be the better way of doing it because you'll see what will happen if we do it the first way, which is just referencing the gallery itself. So Wizard 5K, I'm new to Powerhouse. Very cool. Well, thanks for stopping by. And something I'd let you know if you are a beginner is if you go to my channel, go to the playlist tab, and I have a whole playlist that has a lot of the beginning concepts. And I'm actually releasing a really cool video later this week. I'm probably going to release it on Wednesday, and it's going to talk about some a basic concept, but I'm going to go into really good depth and detail that perhaps maybe some intermediate users don't know yet. But so anyway, but thanks for letting me know. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference this gallery, copy that. I'm going to appear in this label here. I'm going to reference this gallery, say all items. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is say count rows. Okay. So we have 28 records. So I'm gonna splice in a text here and say records. Very good. All right. Gerald, first time live chat viewer. Hello from Canada. Very cool. Is it Gerald? Is it Harold? I don't know how that's pronounced, but I think you just joined my insiders group, didn't you, Gerald, this week? So welcome to the live stream. It's nice having you. Very cool. All right. So what happens in a gallery if you have more than 100 records? A gallery is trying to be smart. It will only grab the first 100 records. Now, if you set your gallery up to you change up this wrap count to show a lot more records, so you can actually display more than 100 records on the screen, the gallery will go and get more than the 100 records if it needs to. But if you just have a scroll bar there and the user isn't scrolling, it's not going to go get that other. But if they scroll down to the bottom, it's going to go with the next 100. Okay. So there are sometimes you'll do a record count on a gallery and it's only going to give you a number up to 100. And you're like, you might be stumped. Like, what is going on here? So what you might want to do is go grab the data source instead of referencing the gallery. So do the count rows just on the data source to know how many are there. So that's the better way of doing that. Okay. All right, very good. So the reason why I wanted to know that was one of the things that you might want to know for a purchase order is what's the total for the purchase order? Because when I looked at the purchase order data here, go to purchase orders and purchase order details. Okay. So if I go into purchase order, I was looking for a total and I did not see it. I see, I think for shipping fee, taxes, and normally if I was designing this database, I probably would put a total here. But because we don't have it, this might be a good exercise to show you one of my tricks that I do here. Let's go ahead and add that column here because we could go dynamic inside that gallery, dynamically grab all the details that are associated with that parent record and use an aggregate function within Power Apps to get that total. But doing queries within every record of a gallery can really make your application very slow and sluggish. So it's not something I'd recommend doing. And all right, Wizard 5K. I can't wait for them to fully complete Figma to Canvas app integration. Okay, very cool. Wizard 5K, do you have a background in using Figma? So if you guys don't know, Microsoft just released last week in their Microsoft Build event a new feature called Express Design. And I created a video where you can create just a sketch or some type of sketch. It could be something you just scan in. It could be an image. So what I did was in that video, I created a little MS Paint document where I drew little rectangles like first name, last name, or I did an expense report. And then what I did is I uploaded that image, and Power Apps was able to look at that image and construct an app based on that. So it's sort of cool. And I shared my thoughts on if I thought it was something you could really rely on in building a lot of apps or not near the end. And I believe that they're going to develop the technology as time goes on. But one of the things, instead of just giving it a sketch, is there is a program. If you check it out, Figma. Let me just bring it up here. Figma.com. So this is a site. I didn't know about it until I heard about the new feature that Microsoft was releasing here. And this is, I guess, what designers use to create UI UX designs for applications. And I'm sure it's very popular if Microsoft is building their technology on it. And Wizard 5K says, "Yeah, I have a background in UI UX." Okay, very cool. Well, Wizard 5K, I'm glad you're here because I might get some of your feedback for the UI that we're building. I would have to say it's a little ugly at the moment. But anyway, so we won't go down that road in this moment, but just to sort of let everybody know about this new feature. So this is a brand new feature. And so you could build it here within Figma. Now you have to use their template. And there's only certain things that you can create and that type of thing. And I'm sure they're going to develop it over time. And so you can actually import this. So if I were to go over here, yeah, let me just open up another tab here for Power Apps. Okay, and I'll go home. So you guys should be able to see this now. If you go into Power Apps, you'll see this thing down here below. You can generate an application based on a data source. So it's pretty much like a single table type of thing. So if you have a single table in Dataverse or SharePoint, Excel, SQL Server, you can generate one based on a single table, and it's not bad. I sort of show you how you can do that in my if I had my other browser window open here. If you guys see me looking all around, it's because I got 4 different monitors. I've got different things in different screens here, and I thought I had it open. But anyhow. But if you look at my last few videos, you'll find it. It's called Express Design. Or you do a search for Darren Neese Express Design, it'll come right up. All right, so here's where you upload an image. So if you got, if you get a piece of mail, junk mail in your mailbox today, you flip it over and just write in a bunch of fields with boxes, and you scan that in or take a picture of it with your phone. You can actually upload that image into this, and it will create an app out of it. So here's the item for Figma. Okay, so I just sort of wanted to show you that. Okay, so moving on to the other comments, I have learned a lot from you. Continue to learn. Thanks. Okay, very cool. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that. So it's feedback like this that sort of makes me keep going, creating content like this. Many thanks from Turkey. Ah, very cool. It's very cool to hear from people all around the globe. But so if you don't know, I'm in Orlando, Florida. So it's nice and sunny. It's actually 90 degrees out right now here in Florida. Okay, so let's go back to our app here. Okay, so what I was saying was we don't have a field. Okay, purchase orders. Let's go into list settings here. And I do not see any type of total. In fact, sometimes, yeah, total. No total. Okay. I'm going to create a new column. And I'm going to call it Purchase order total, or we could just call it total. Because there's no other total there, right? So let's create it as a number. It's going to be decimal number, but I think number can handle all of those. Okay, Wizard 5K is from Maryland. Okay, very cool. I'm originally from the Midwest, so Indiana, Illinois area, and I moved down here to Florida in 2006. So it's cool to connect with people all over the place. All right, so we got total, we got a number, and there's some other options that we can specify down here. I think we can just leave it as a number and it will be able to handle numbers. So if you see it says number 1, then 1.0. So it shows you that it can handle decimal numbers. So I'm going to click OK. So now we have a total. Now, if you create a new column within SharePoint or any data source, what you have to do, Power Apps doesn't know about it. So you got to go into Power Apps and you got to say, well, Power Apps, I need you to refresh on the state of the source. So Prakash, hopefully I pronounced that right. Hello from India. Hello. Thanks for stopping by. And you're from LinkedIn, it looks like. Very cool. So I'm using a technology called StreamYard. It allows me to stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Some live streaming all kinds of different places. So it's sort of cool seeing you guys come in from different sources. So definitely appreciate you guys coming in and saying hi. All right. So we are looking. So we added a new field to our purchase orders. Yeah. So let's refresh that. Okay. And I'd like to have the total here. Now, what is going on with this? Maybe perhaps for this label, I think this is all dynamic, yeah. So let's maybe make that centered. Yeah, that looks a little better. All right, so I'm going to add a new column here for total. Copy and paste. All right. So because this is dynamic, it didn't move at all. So let's go find this one, this 14 here. Copy the name of that. And for this one, I'm going to paste it there and there. Okay. Okay. I'm going to say total. Very good. And then I'm going to copy and paste this label here. Okay, I need to grab this label. It's all dynamic here. Very good. All right. So for the default property, this is not a date value. This is just total. Very good. Now this does need to be formatted as a currency. So I'm going to say text. The dollar sign in there, a dollar and change. Okay. And if there's no value, I guess it's going to display blank there, which is fine for now. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is there's an aggregate function that we can use. I'm going to copy and paste that label. And so this is going to be a temporary label. And I'm going to go off and do a query within this gallery. And eventually we'll delete it. But we'll get the value. We'll do a query within a query here. Go grab the value and put it into that total. Okay. And so there's a function called sum. And let's go look at purchase order details. Now, if we added up all the records within purchase order details and we looked at the column in there, You know what? We need I mean, you've got a unit cost and you have a quantity. Those need to be multiplied, right, to get the price. So I feel like we need to have that in here because that's not in there as well. Okay. Now, question is, how do I create? I probably should create this as a calculated column for this, and let me see if I can figure this out. Um, so we've got a unit cost. I'm going to create a column called perhaps total cost for that line item. Maybe not a total. Um, maybe just cost because we have a unit cost. So that wouldn't be a conflict. Okay, let's create that. We're going to list settings here. Cost. Okay. Um, Now we want calculated though. Okay, so this may not be hard, and I've done this before, but I don't think I've done this live. You know, when you're doing a live stream, you don't want to be sitting here looking and googling things while everybody's watching, right? uh, Wish I could expand this a little bit. All right, so we've got quantity. I'm going to double click on quantity. There we go. And there's price. Okay, unit cost. So I'm going to do an asterisk here. Unit cost. And this is going to be currency. All right. I'm going to click OK and cross my fingers, and hopefully it works. Now, one of you guys might actually be a SharePoint expert and tell me if I did that right or not. Hey, look, it worked. All right. Cool. I'm excited. Are you guys excited? All right. So we've got that now. Now, what we need to do is we'll go over here to Power Apps and we'll go and say purchase order details. We need to refresh that. Okay. All right. All right. We'll do a sum now and we will take a look at that new column. And let's create cost. Gerald, you gave me some applause. That's cool. Thank you. All right. So cost. All right. So look at that. Look at that. Now that is total for the whole table for the details, but each one of these represents a parent of some of those. Okay. So what we need to do here is we need to do a filter here. Okay. We need to filter it by it's going to be something like purchase order reference dot ID equals this item dot ID. Okay. Here we go. That should give us different numbers there. All right. So on each of these labels, as it's rendering each of these labels in this gallery. Now we don't have a lot. We only have 28 records, so it's no big deal at this point. But if you can imagine, if us having a few thousand records here, now PowerUps can only go get 2,000 records at once. So even a thousand would be a lot. But the gallery, of course, is only going to render 100 at a time. Okay. So I would like to format this. I don't have to because I'm actually going to put it into that total. Okay. So we're going to put that into the total here. Let's add a button at the top. Okay. And I'm going to give this a very weird color, something that doesn't match up with our theme because I want it to stand out because it's temporary. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a for all, which is sort of like a loop within Power Apps. Now, Power Apps doesn't have a way to loop. This is about as close as you can get to it. Now, there's some people that have created some obscure way of doing loops, but there's nothing built into Power Apps to say, okay, for each or a for loop or a do while, anything like that, or do until. There's none of that. All you have is a for all, okay? For all. And in this case, I'm going to go through everything in this gallery here. Okay. So I'm going to grab the name of the gallery and I'm going to put it up here. I'll say dot all items. Okay. And then the second half or the second parameter in this for all is what you want to have happen for each of the items in that this top item here. And as we're going through each of these items, you can reference the individual record with an alias, which I like to do. Now there is a keyword called this record. I believe that you can reference. I like to use an alias. So I'll say my, okay. Then down here, what I can do is I can say I actually want to patch. I actually want to update the data, the underlying data for that gallery, um, which is the purchase orders table. Okay. So I'm going to say patch. Okay. Purchase order. Okay, that's the data source. And then we need to give it a record. And how you get a record from a data source, tabular data, in Power Apps is you do a lookup. Lookup. Okay. We'll finish that in a moment. And the third parameter is all the values that we want to specify, and we'll do that in a moment as well. All right, so I want to double click on that data source purchase order. So that lookup needs a data source. We're going to go look something up at. And let's see, the second parameter is going to be like a where clause. If any of you guys do any type of SQL select queries. Okay, so we're going to say where the ID equals my .id. Okay, so we're going to do a lookup based on the individual IDs that we're sort of looping through here. Okay, so now what we want to do is have a specify totals. Yeah, total equals my, and we want to grab the text out of this label. Okay, so I'm going to grab that label there. That label. Now, if you don't put that my, if you're referencing label within this looping structure here, it's gonna return the label from the first record, which you don't want. Dot text. Now that is actually numeric value, but it's being stored on a label. It's text property. So we want to get the numeric value. So we say value. It's going to return numeric value. Okay, it's going to put it in there. Now that should work. Now if I indented this properly, this is what the code should look like. And maybe I can zoom in just so you guys can see this better here. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. So that's this little loop. So I'm doing some some DBA work or something here on my SharePoint data. Okay. Okay, that's a little too very good. All right, so now what I would say is I'm going to give this one more quick look over here. This all should be good. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to hit run. I'm going to hit this button here, and it should update the total in each of these records. And then after it has that, I can delete this little label that's doing the subquery that will make our application sluggish and slow. I'm going to hit run. I'm going to hit the button, cross your fingers. If it comes back right away and you have a few records there, you might want to say, oh, there's probably an error or something. Okay, so look at that. Looks like it's working. What do you guys think? Now I might want to format this so there's that little comma in there. And I mean, this is just 28 records. So it's taken a moment to do this type of stuff. If there were thousands and thousands of records, I probably wouldn't even try to update a data source like this. I'd use something else. I think it would be faster with the Dataverse. Also, if you're using SQL Server as a backend, you could write a store procedure or some type of query that can execute it directly, and it would execute it a lot faster. So Wizard 5K says, "Nice, very cool, thanks." All right, so are we done? Well, the button is enabled again, so it came back okay. All right, so what's great now is that we should probably delete this little label here, but before I delete this, I want to show you guys the code here and leave it up the screen here in case you want to capture it before I delete it. Okay, so that's how I did all that. Um, all right, so I'm going to remove that guy there, and it looks like the data came over. Everything's consistent here. Okay. But just formatting is a little different. Okay. All right, I'm going to delete it. Boom, gone. And now this button is sort of freaking out a little bit because that label's no longer there. And I think I'm just going to delete that as well. All right, so here in this label, we'll put some numbers in here. Okay, so when you're using this text function to format the text, and it's numeric, if there's no number there and you don't want it to be displayed if there's nothing there, you'd use this pound sign. Okay. But if you do want if there's nothing there and you want a zero to appear there, then you use zeros. So if there's no real change in here, and by the way, this is center aligned. I want it to be right aligned. So the decimal places all line up. Yeah, there's no decimal value provided there. I still want the .00 because it's currency. Or in this case, if it's always a whole value, if there's a business rule for this application, so there will never be any type of decimal. Perhaps we could leave that off and make it simpler looking. But so now you can see here the thousands have the comma in there, and if there are no thousands like this 225, there's no need for a comma, so it displays it like that. So hopefully that makes sense. What I was saying about using this text um, function to format that. Okay. All right. Very good. So we've done that. We got the total, and I think I'm going to bring over my little Access database here. Okay. So here's the purchase orders. And so here in this Access application, they're not showing me like a drill down report or a drill down data. So I can't say that I'm all that impressed with the interface for Northwind here. And perhaps earlier versions of Northwind might have had better screens. But I mean, just going back to this home screen, what happened was this is our dashboard. This is our what do they call this in Access? A switchboard, like a home screen that's sort of using as a menu. Okay. And so I've opened up each of these and I have them all open here. And a lot of them are just like a listing. Okay. Now, do we have an inventory list? I don't think we have an inventory list. So this is interesting. So perhaps this inventory list is a way to create a purchase order. It says purchase from supplier. So if I click on this, what happens? Product does not need restocking. Okay, so they have some business rules in here. Okay, so perhaps we'll duplicate that. So let's look at something here. Dried pears, we don't have any, so perhaps we need to order some more. So if I click on that, what happens? Okay, just said successfully restocked. Okay, thanks. Like what just happened? Okay, so let me go into the design view and see what happens here on this button. And perhaps I can hit F4. I know that because of Wizard 5K. I don't know what perhaps you're smiling that I clicked the button. I'm like, what did that do? Okay, so back in VB6, if any of you on the line are old VB6 programmers, do I have any of you out there? No? All right, maybe I'm alone. You could bring up the property window by hitting F4. Okay, and there is an event here called event procedure. And I hit dot, dot, dot. What does that bring up? Oh, look, here's VBA code. What is this doing? Oh my goodness, this is bringing back some memories of doing VB6 code. All right, so there's a routine here called command purchase click. If not me. Kurt, are you seeing this?
I am.
Does this bring you back to the VB6 days? All right, Rodney says yes. Very cool. All right. All right, so there's a quantity to order. If the quantity to reorder is greater than 0, we're going to message box, no need to restock. Otherwise, okay, so there is, okay, so there's all kinds of probably code out here. There's inventory. Now, Kurt, do you remember what it was to actually go into, like, this is calling a function here within Access VBA. There was like an F key to like actually go into the routine that was defined. You remember F2? All right, let's try that. F2. Oh, that's the yeah. So that's the object browser. You remember the old object browser? Yeah, that's cool. This is sort of nostalgia for me. So okay, so there's a module out here called inventory, and inventory has restock. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna double click on that. I'm gonna hit copy. I'm gonna go over here, Control F, and we'll do a search here. Restock product, and this is the routine that's called. Okay, so let's open up this VBA code. So they pass in a product ID. All right, man. They got some code in here, man. um, I don't know that I want to step through all this right now. I might do that later though. Look at that. They've got an exit function right there in the middle of the function.
Garbage.
Yeah, I was taught never to do an exit. Yeah, Wizard 5K says not familiar with VB6. Yeah. So if you do any type of VBA coding, this is the same type of technology language that we had in VB6 or earlier. But yeah, they got exit functions in here. There's 2 of them. So in my opinion, if you have a function and you got little a function or routine should really have, if you get into coding, you know, you're trying to get into Power Apps, perhaps you're not looking to do a lot of coding, but if you have a routine here, this is a function, you should have one entry point and one exit point. And if you've got weird things in here like exit functions, it sort of lends itself to spaghetti code, in my opinion. But I know there are some other people that disagree with that. And what I was always taught as a young developer is that if well, how do I write this without an exit function? Well, you have to write your code in a way within these if statements so it just falls through here with your else's or your end ifs and doesn't execute any of the code. Um, so anyway, I didn't really want to dig too much into that, but I just sort of thought that was interesting. So perhaps what I'll do is sort of dig in more to the business processes, the business rules that should be in place on top of the Northwind data source, the data store, and because we need to sort of build that into our application, right? So I'll probably do that. And perhaps what might be good is have like typed up documentation on the requirements, like what really should this application do? Because so far, really what I'm doing is I'm just building out CRUD screens for all these entities. Okay, so I'm gonna close that out. Okay. So it's not bad. If you're a beginner in Power Apps, creating CRUD screens is perfectly good and fine for learning, but at some point you need to have some business logic in here. So at some point we need to create something in here like an inventory list that would allow us to do that. Okay. um so I'm actually up for building that. So we are about an hour and a half in, and perhaps we can start on this. um Yeah, I'd say we go ahead and start on that. So, typically I only like to go about 2 hours on these live streams. So let's put another 30 minutes and let's start to build out this inventory list. Um, all right, so we do have products. Okay, that's our product listing, but that doesn't tell us how many we have on hand, which would be our inventory, right? Okay. So what we'll want to do, let's go look at looking for a screen to copy. If we go look at our products, which we're currently looking at, yeah, this might be a good one to sort of copy here. Okay, let's do that. Product listing, and we will duplicate that. We'll zoom out a little bit there. Okay, we'll call this and then for the data source, you know what? I am going to rip all that out and I'm just going to say inventory. And what is our data source here in our SharePoint list? That is the question. You know, let's just bring up our ERD diagram here. Where's our products? Here we go. Our products are attached to purchase order details. Okay. Where is our inventory stored at? So I'm going to pull this thing down here. So their screen, if I click on this thing, this little square dot, I click on data, the record source is inventory. And I hit dot, dot, dot. Aha. Inventory is not a table. Inventory is a query. Look at that. Okay. So it's based on products. Okay, it's good that we duplicated um, our products screen because it's going to be based on that. Okay, so it pulls in all this other data here for us. Now, who all here is familiar with doing SQL queries with joins? Anybody? So this is a nice little visual designer for a query. I'm used to building queries with just SQL, so I'm going to click on that. Ugh. All right, so I'm going to copy that, and let me see if I can pull up my Notepad++ here, and let's take a look and look at this inventory data here and see if we can sort of pick it apart. All right, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Select all these different fields that we need to see in the query. All right, so Rodney, yes, SQL Server. Okay, cool. And Wizard 5K, yeah, the same. Okay, so perhaps you guys are familiar with SQL. All right, very good. So I didn't want to sort of turn anybody off. Now, I'm not really familiar with NZ. Now, some of these functions are going to be specific to Access and not SQL Server, or the SQL language is a standard. But dealing with products will have their own specialized functions. Okay. NZ, I think it might look for any null values. And if there is a null value, it's going to return a 0 instead. Okay. So I think that's what's going on there. All right. So zoom out a little bit there. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going into the inventory table. Okay. So as you see each of these fields, it's got an as. If it doesn't have an as, it just uses this product name thing. Okay. So I like to sort of line things up a little bit. As. I mean, if we're really going to reverse engineer an access database, there's probably going to be some of this that we need to do if we're going to stay true to the cause of giving a like for like for the access application. I'm just trying to understand this query that they have here, and I have to figure out how I'm going to duplicate this query. Because if we were using SQL Server as a backend for our Power Apps, we could create a SQL Server database object called a view, which is like a query, like they created here in Access, and we could do all of our joins and everything. But we don't have that, and we don't have the Dataverse that has built-in relationships and things there. So what we are using is SharePoint. We want to stick with SharePoint because 70% of you guys are actually using SharePoint as a database because licensing or whatever. Um, perhaps the your IT department won't allow you to do anything with the Dataverse or SQL Server. So SharePoint is what you're stuck with. So that's why I like to stick with SharePoint as much as I can for at least training. But if you have access to use Dataverse, I say go for it. If you have, you know, one of the either the Dataverse or the SQL Server, use that. So Gerald says left join. That's why I quit trying to learn Access and went to Power Apps. Good for all you can use it. Hope to add to skill set. So please continue. Okay, very good. Well, thanks for that input. I appreciate that. Now I will tell you, yeah, we are doing a left join here. Okay. Okay, and we're looking at the products table, and I usually indent all this here. Left join on, I indent that over. Left join, blah, blah, blah. Okay, on. Okay, indent that over. We have another left join on. And on statement here. All right. And then we got a little semicolon at the end, holding everything in. All right. So I want to share something with you guys, just in case, perhaps you know nothing about SQL and you're looking at all this stuff and you're like, what is all this? So we're selecting from different database tables, or in this case, we're working with SharePoint. So we're working with SharePoint lists. And we're trying to get it all synchronized and into one data set so we can use it into a grid or a gallery or some type of data table. Okay. And so that's what this is, what they were all going for here with an Access. And what I wanted to show you is looking at structured query language, SQL, and creating joins. There is a great diagram out here, and Gerald, you made me think of it. You said that's why I quit learning Access, went for Power Apps. So just talking about joins, if you think joins are really complicated, there is a good article out there, and it's from a website blog called Coding Horror. Coding Horror SQL joins, and they've got a great visual explanation of working with joins, okay, and sort of make sense of it all, okay. So let me move this stuff around. I'm going to open up this link here, and you know what? I'm gonna paste that link in the chat so you guys can have it, okay. All right. So if you look at this, here is an inner join, okay. So it's going to give you the results from two tables in which they overlap, okay. And what are you talking about overlap? Well, if you look at the code here in the SQL, it's this overlap. It's this products.id, and it links up with the inventory sold product ID. Okay. So with each join, you're putting together data, you're joining the data based on two columns matching up. Okay. Okay. So that's just a normal join. Then you've got a full outer join. It's going to give you all the data from both the tables. Okay. and then a left outer join. And what is this one called? Well, it's going to give you all the data where they don't overlap. So what I was looking for was it's this right here. Well, left outer join, which is the most popular. It produces a complete set of records from table A within the matching records where available in table B. Okay. So I believe that's what, yeah, left outer join. It's this one. This is the what. So whatever you have on the left side, it's going to include everything on the left side, and then all the related data that match up with the second table on the right side. Okay. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Let me go back to the code here. Okay. And so we're taking the products, and it perhaps might be a good idea just to go back to the designer that they had and take a look and see what they had here. Design view. Okay. So we got products, and we have inventory sold, inventory purchase, on hold, back order, and inventory on order. Okay. Um, to be honest, I might need to sit with this query for a while. It might take me a good 30 minutes or longer to figure out how I would want to handle this inside of Power Apps. Now, what we could do is bring over data. You could sort of create your own joins within Power Apps by bringing over data in collections, and you have to filter it. You have to delegate the query and bring over a subset, and then you could link the data together. You do lookups within collections and memory within Power Apps. That would be fairly uh, efficient, not so sluggish. Um, but I would need to sit with this and sort of figure out the best way of going about that. So I don't know if that's something that I'm going to get through today, and we've got about 20 minutes. So perhaps we'll tackle that on the next live stream. Okay. And so anyway, so that is something I want to do sometime soon. But just going back to our Canvas application here, we have, okay, so this is called inventory listing screen. And something I might be tempted to do is actually build out a inventory SharePoint list and sort of denormalize the data a little bit so we've got real data there that we can pull from and not have to do those joins. So inventory, and then of course we have, well, it's not pointing at anything right now, but it should probably look at products. Okay. And then pull in all the other stuff that we need. Let me go back to one of their main screens here. Okay, it's not allowing me to exit this. So I'm going to save and close that. Yeah. So this is the type of information that we would want to be displayed there. Okay. Let me just pull that down there. So this is the screen that we'll want to build out here. So we still want this to be like product. Okay, product. And then down here we've got total inventory. Something like that. Maybe 120. Okay. Allocated. Inventory. And I have a feeling we're going to be hurting for space here. Let me sort of. Okay, there we go. Okay, available. Inventory due from supplier. Combined total. Copy and paste. All right. Now this label should have moved over. X, boom, plus its width. There you go. We have a combined total, and then we have 3 more. Yeah, we're going to be hurting for space here. Let's make this less. Combined total. And perhaps what we need to do is just make all these labels smaller. Target level. And the last one will be quantity to reorder. Or reorder quantity. And then somewhere in there, if you look at this access thing, and they've got a little button here, so we'll add that button somewhere somehow. Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's take a look at our ERD diagram and see what other type of stuff that we might want to build here. Okay. I think what I might do is move these things around based on which ones we have done already. So employees and customers, yes. Order listing. I'm going to try to put everything on the left side that we're done here. Order listing. We do have orders. Yeah. That over there. We have shippers. Yep. We got shippers. Purchase orders. I know we have that. Purchase order details. We just did that today. I don't believe we have inventory transactions. We do have products. We do have shippers. Invoices. We do not have invoices. Okay, we'll move that over there. Order details we do have. Order detail status. Okay, we don't have that one yet. Leave that over there. Employee and employee privileges. I don't think we've built that out. Inventory transactions, purchase order status. Okay. So we've got a lot of screens that modify a great deal of the table so far. We just need to do a few more. Now, some of these are just little lookup tables. Okay. So let's go look at those real quick. And perhaps we'll we can knock those out real quick, perhaps. Okay, so where is my data here? Okay, so here's our data. Site contents, and I'm looking for like employee privileges. Okay, and then we've got that's a mapping table between that and privileges. So privileges only has one value here. Okay, so let's see if we could create something fairly quickly. I think we can, like a screen like this. Let's duplicate that one. And this screen will allow us to add, edit, delete privileges that an employee could have inside the application. Okay. So right now it's just purchase approvals, but perhaps we'll want more in there. Okay. So for here, I'll just rip all that out and I'll say if this. Very good. And we're looking for privilege name. Okay. And I don't think we need that label for anything. We don't need that label for anything. Okay. And let's make that label take up the full height. So we'll say this template height. And then over here, let's look at that. Privileges, boom. It's going to want to replace all the data cards. Very good. All right, Rob Freeman, hello. I might not get to watch all this now, but we'll be returning to watch the full post. Thanks. Awesome. Well, thanks for letting me know, man. Thanks for stopping by. Absolutely. Okay, so we have our purchase orders. I'm sorry, our privileges here, and then it's currently looking at what we have. So for title, I mean, we have a title over here, but we're not really displaying anything in the title. Okay. So, okay, so this is cool. So perhaps what we might want to do for titles, put at the bottom. And you guys probably already know this, but for a SharePoint list, it will always have this title column that it creates. I don't like to mess with the title. I like to leave it as is because if you try to change column names for SharePoint, it seems to always want to reference that old column name. So I don't like that mess. So what I like to do is I like to just utilize it to sort of make it unique or valuable in some other way. So I'll unlock this data card and I'll set up the default value for title to be something like so privilege ID was an old ID from Access. I think I might want to grab the well, let me look and see what we have over here for the mapping table, okay, which is employee privileges. We have one employee, okay, and it's referencing purchase approvals. Okay, so it's not referencing anything with an old ID. So really, this old ID can just we don't care about it. So this privilege ID, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip that out of there. It's not really needed for anything. In fact, I could probably just delete that out. Okay. So title here, what I might want to do is put its ID in there. Okay, so we could say over here for this selected I'll actually want to grab, if they type anything differently in here, I want to grab that. Not what it currently is. Get a car.text. Okay. And then what I could do is the user doesn't have to see that. Okay. And so this just allows us to add, edit, delete little privileges that an employee could have. Okay, now for the save button, it's giving me an error, so it's not liking something here. And it's an if statement. Oh, this is some old stuff that we had in here from some other screen. Okay. That applied to the employee screen. But not the screen. All right, so leave that there. So now if I hit save, it will save that. We can add in a new privilege name like office admin. Okay, so this is an office admin type of application. So perhaps we want to have a privilege name called office admin. So they wouldn't be able to go in and add employees or mess with any of this stuff unless they have that privilege. We could add that, so we have that there. Okay, so now that we have this, if we go over to employees, okay, we could do something here to sort of give them access. So this allows us to edit this record for employees. So we could have so this is a form. We could shorten up this form a little bit, and we could have a gallery here of all the privileges that they could have. I mean, we could do that. Yeah, I'm going to copy and paste that gallery. That down. Okay, very good. So the data source for this thing will be privileges. Okay. And then in here, this item dot privilege name. Okay, so we got privilege name there. Okay, take out all this other stuff that we don't need in the gallery. So these are the privileges that they could have. And then for the height here, we could say parent.template height. All right, maybe give it a better left padding here, like 15. Okay. And perhaps doesn't need to be so big, maybe something like 60. 50. And then what I'd want to do, maybe it doesn't need so much space there. We probably want more space for our little form. So we can do that. What if we add little toggles here that allow us to give or remove access to that? Okay. Okay. So trying to think how I would want to do that. Well, let's get this toggle to turn on if they have access. How about that? Well, I know that we have just one record out here right now. So I know Andrew has this privilege. Andrew has purchase approvals. Andrew Sanini. So we do have a search up here, so let's use it. Andrew. Very good. Okay, so for this default, we're going to go look up employee in the mapping table. Employee. I'm going to show this ERD diagram again here. So we got the privileges out here. So what we're looking at, we're going to be modifying here on the screen is the matching these two IDs from these two different tables. Okay. Employee and the privilege. Okay. Employee privileges. We're going to do a lookup there where the employee reference dot ID. As long as that equals, okay, I'm going to go over and reference this gallery, which is gal employees dot selected dot ID. Okay, but we also need to match that up with the other one. So what that is okay, so let's open this up a little more. And let's break down the code. Let's indent everything over, make it look all nice. We'll say, and the permissions privilege reference dot ID equals, now we're currently in a gallery that has an ID for the permission. Okay, so we will say this item dot ID. Okay, now, and I'll use an ending parenthesis. So that will give us a record from that mapping table. But what we want to know is it empty or not? So let's go look at the ID of that record that was returned, and we could do is blank. Okay, so I'm going to indent things around here, make them look better. Okay. Look at that. Oh, so we're going to turn that toggle on if it's blank. That actually should be the reverse. So I'm going to use the bang operator, an exclamation point, that will reverse that logic. So if you look at this, we have Andrew selected, and he does have this privilege, purchase approvals. Isn't that cool? Now, if I go into another person like Robert Zaire, I know he doesn't have any privileges. Only Andrew has any type of privilege. Okay, so what is this sorted on? This looks like a weird sort order. We sort on modified. Okay, so let's sort this based on people's last names. Perhaps that would make more sense here. Okay. And I think it's descending. I think I just saw that. Let's go with ascending. All right. So we've got, what was that guy's name? Andrew. He's got approval. All right. So now what I need to do is whenever they click on this, I want it to go do an insert. Okay. So that's the default. If I click on action and on change, here we go. So on this change, what I want to do is well, if it's on check, I want to add it. And I might want to do all this saving when they hit that save button. Okay. So what we'll do here. Yeah, we could do a for all right here on this gallery. Okay, so we'll do a for all. We'll submit the form. Okay, we'll do a for all. It's on the gallery, all items as my, and in this expression here, we will do a patch. But before we do a patch on the selected items, perhaps we should just clear it out. Okay, rather than trying to find what's existing there and doing all that type of stuff, we'll just do a complete removal of anything here. So we'll just say remove. Now, remove is how you delete stuff in Power Apps. Okay, we'll do a remove if, and what we want to do a remove if on is this little mapping table in the middle, employee privileges. We'll do a comma. And we're going to go look for stuff based on those two criteria, or at least one of the criteria, which is the employee ID. Okay. But the employee reference is the same one as is being selected. So we're going to remove all those. And then for each of them that are selected, what I might do is actually filter this out to only the ones that are selected. Okay. So filter where this little toggle, which is toggle 1, by the way, value is true, and it returns a Boolean value anyway. Okay. So as long as it's true, those are the only ones we're going to go over. As long as it's true, then we're going to do a patch on this employee privileges. Defaults. And the record values that we want to put in there, you know what? They are going to be, oh boy, patching a lookup column is a little complicated. Just FYI. Okay. So what we want to do here is we want to grab. Okay. So the column that we want to put in here, we want to put in the employee reference. And then we also want in here the privilege. And of course, it's doing a weird error because I haven't done up this first one yet. But we'll have the privilege there as well. Okay, we don't want to mess with the comma just yet. We'll put that on a different line. Okay. Now, whenever I brought in all this data from Access, I have, if you scroll down here on the tree view, you're going to see a lot of screens here. Do you see this? Fix orders, fix employee privileges. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Okay. And when we're all done with this project, I'm going to make this whole MS app file available to you guys. You can go in here and look at all these fix things. So if you're looking at this, months or years from now, and you're watching this video on YouTube, this video will, this MS app file will be available. You can just go in and look at it. And I was just going to upload it for you guys just whenever I'm completely done with it, rather than trying to upload it every single time. But okay, so we've got a for all here. So this is how you patch a lookup column. It's not too complicated, but this is how it's done. Okay, so I'm going to copy this stuff over. Okay, and how a lookup reference works within SharePoint, it needs an ID and then a value. Okay, so that's what we're going to provide. And something you notice is sometimes you don't remember everything off the top of your head. Sometimes you got to copy and paste something that you had from before that worked. Okay, so this is one of those cases. I don't work with relationships in SharePoint this way. How I deal with relationships typically, if I'm running a real application, is I just have a numeric ID column, and I just know that that is a foreign key. Now, why did I deviate from that and create lookup columns? Because I wanted to be able to use forms within this application, and forms will work automatically with combo boxes that reference the other table automatically if you have lookup columns. So that's why I did it that way. This is a little bit of a learning experience for me. Um, and and I'm like, well, maybe I need to stretch myself and learn how to do this. And I did that. And what I learned was that the way that I have been doing it, like in the garage application, if you guys go to my channel and look at a playlist, I've got a work order system I built for a garage, and you'll see how I deal with foreign keys there. It's actually superior way because when you're working with these lookup columns, you're trying to filter things based on the lookup columns. You'll get some delegation issues, which is a big problem. So it's actually best not to work with lookup columns, in my opinion. Okay. Now, if we're working with Dataverse, I think it handles it much better. You're not sort of worked yourself into a corner that you have to find a solution for. So we're just trying to make all this work now, and perhaps I might show you how I would do that here within this Northwind project, and convert those back to just numeric values so we don't have those delegation issues. But let's get this done here. All right, so I'm going to paste that there. So we have employee reference. And then employee reference is dependent upon this gallery over here that holds employees. So it's gal employees. Okay. Okay. That's the ID for an employee. The value with full name. Got a full name. And that's how you would patch that. But we also need the privilege in there. So we'll hit that and hit privilege reference. Okay. And then we need something similar to this again. We don't need the comment again. All right. So the privilege we're going to grab from this gallery down here. Okay, but instead of selected, it's going to be my. Okay. My .id, which is the individual record there, my ID. And then okay, it's a privilege name. Okay, there we go. That should work. All right, so I'm going to run this. I'm going to go look for a rascal named Darren, and I'm going to give him all this access. I'm going to hit save. Did it work? I don't know. It did something weird there. So let's go look at the data. Okay, I'm going to hit refresh. All right, we have Darren. Now these two columns, these are throwaway columns. This is stuff that was brought in from my import, and then I use these values to create these columns. So these are of no consequence. Okay, so what happened here? I am an office admin, but I don't have a purchase approval. Okay, so I'm going to click on purchase approval, and I'm going to click save. What is going on? Huh? All right, so if I have both of these selected, let's go through the code here. So it should give us both of our items. You know what? I don't think I should filter here. I think that's going to cause us some problems. Okay, so I'm going to take out that filter. Here we do all the removes, okay? And then for the patch, I'm going to say if my toggle one value, if that's true, okay. If that's true, then I'll patch. Otherwise, I won't patch. Okay, so that's one way we could do it there. Okay. And I also think that this remove if. Oh, okay, that's what's going on. I was hitting remove if on both. So this should actually be outside of the loop. You just do a single remove, this remove statement. It removes all the privileges for that employee, and then it adds in the ones that we checked. And then that sort of makes me believe I can put that filter back in. But this should work as well. Let's try this out. Save. Okay. Go back here, hit the refresh. There we go. I got both privileges. Isn't that cool? All right. Um, now I'm sort of curious if we changed it back the way I was originally intending. I'm gonna comment that out and put that back in. And then now I could take out this if, and I think taking out that if would make it less complicated. And as long as this works, I'll take all these comments out, the commented code. Okay. So let's go find somebody else. Okay. Let's look at Nancy. Nancy Freehafer. Let's give her privileges. We'll save. And let's go look in the data. There's Nancy, and she's got two privileges here. Okay. Now let's remove her from purchase approvals. Hit save. And let's make sure that she doesn't have anything that she shouldn't have. Okay. So here's that record. Now, if we refresh, it has an ID of 8. 8 should be gone. Okay. Very, very good. So now she only has office admin. So it's working. Isn't that cool, guys? All right. So we're getting close to being done here. I know we're past the 2-hour mark, and my back hurts. All right. So what I would want to see if I was using this application as a user is I might want to be able to access some more privileges here. Okay, so we already do have a screen here for privileges. Okay, well, where's that at? Where did that where did that go? Employee screen 1. Yeah, we really need to rename this. Okay, so this is going to be edit privileges screen. Okay, so there we go. Zoom out a little bit there. Okay, so this screen should have a menu item so we can get to it. Okay, so let's add that so people can get to it. On start. Copy all this, paste it in here, give it an ID of 8, put in a comma there. Okay, now we can hit the run on start. Run on start. All right, so now we have a little edit privileges there at the bottom. Isn't that cool? Home, edit privileges. Okay, now what I was thinking was I want to be able to get back to this screen very quickly and easily, even though we have a menu item for it. If I'm over here on employees and I want to add a privilege, I'm going to add a label here. I'm going to put it here at the bottom, a little conveniently, and I'm going to say as a label. What are we going to call this? It's going to be like a little link to it. Manage. Okay, and then what we can do, it's longer here, make it maybe 12 and make it underline, make it blue, make it look like an internet link. Now, I don't see a pure blue color, which I'd like it to be. Just type in the word blue, and then it should be like really blue. Okay. Now, if somebody clicks on this, on the action, on the navigate. Okay. And let's go to fade. If they want to add some more privileges, they just click on this little link here and it takes them there. Isn't that cool? All right. Very good. So my question to you guys is, what should we work on next? So I'm going to move this ERD diagram down here. So we have employee privileges done. We have privileges done. We still need all this stuff done here. And perhaps before we tackle, I know we were talking about tackling the whole inventory list here. We started on that. Before we can do that, I think we're going to have to work on all these other tables, this inventory transactions and that big join SQL statement. Okay. Now order details, that can be something that can be easily knocked out. Okay. But just sort of showing you where we've gone, where we're going to go. And after we have a screen that touches and manages all this data, perhaps what we'll do is we'll attack more of the business processes. And so that's what I'm thinking. I'd love to hear about what you guys think. If you're not watching live, please do leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And if you're still here, I'd love to hear from you guys as well. And let's see here. Hey, if you're getting anything helpful out of this, a comment or even a like really helps the channel and lets people like you know this is good content. Much appreciated. Guys, for some reason, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, got to hurry. Click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube's going to autoplay some other video, which you probably don't want. Thanks.